Okay, good evening. Welcome to mini session number, oh gosh, what are we on? 6 organ systems for the digestive tract. And now I'm going to start with the upper part and then we'll move to the lower part just because there's so many and I'm going to break it up into small bite-sized chunks. So let me share with you the outline. The upper digestive tract. In this little session, you're going to have the oral cavity, the pharynx, the esophagus, and the stomach. All right, here's your outline that is on Canvas. Shrink that. And let's go to the PowerPoint. So there are actually 6 organs of the digestive system, but I'm going to break this one down to be the oral cavity, the pharynx, the esophagus, and the stomach. The small intestine and large intestine are rather big, so we will deal with them in the next one. So here is the oral cavity. Now the pharynx is right here. The esophagus is the long tube, and then we have the stomach. So a definition that you're going to need to know is gastro. Gastro just means stomach. However, the term gastro means the entire digestive system, starting with the stomach and continuing all the way through the large and small intestines. So if you have a gastrointestinal doctor, they deal with strictly the GI tract. Okay. So the oral cavity is the beginning of the digestive tract. This is where food is chewed and mixed with saliva to begin the digestive process. Now, mastication is the word for actively chewing. Chewing mushes up the food, the saliva moistens the food, and the saliva contains the enzymes which make their way down to the stomach. So the pharynx, the oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx is common to both the respiratory and digestive system. Here is your nasal cavity. So this is the nasopharynx. Here is your oral cavity. So this is the oropharynx. And here is your larynx. So this is the laryngeolarynx. And here's the purple color, green, teal, and purple to denote those areas. So this is common to both the respiratory and the digestive system. Once you get past the epiglottis, the little flappy thing that closes this over your trachea so that food doesn't go into your windpipe, food goes behind your trachea to the esophagus. Now, when you're thinking about it, if you're laying down flat, your trachea is most anterior. Your esophagus is most posterior. In this picture right here, the esophagus is posterior to the trachea. The trachea is anterior to the esophagus. Here's another picture of your esophagus. This is where we like to shove tubes down people's noses, and it goes all the way down to here. The esophagus is the long tube that allows food to progress into the stomach. Once the esophagus passes through the diaphragm, it becomes inside the abdominal cavity. So this little part of the esophagus right here lies within the abdominal cavity, just because it's underneath the esophagus. So when it's above the diaphragm, it's actually behind everything else, and it's contained within the mediastinum. So moving down just a little bit, we will get into the more difficult aspects of the stomach, but what you do need to know is the stomach ends, and it has several different parts. It has the fundus, which is where you'll find the little gastric bubble, the body, the antrum, pylorus, and the cardia. So at the end of the stomach, down here at the bottom, is where the stomach empties into the intestines, and that's called your pyloric sphincter. Up here at the top, where it's called cardia, it's called the cardiac sphincter because it's closest to the heart. Sometimes it's called the cardioesophageal sphincter or the LES. It was called the lower esophageal sphincter. There's several different names for it, but I know it as the cardiac sphincter. It's just the one at the top, and it's the one closest to the heart. Cardiac sphincter near the heart. All right. So just remember the stomach is in the left upper quadrant. Here's pictures of your gastric bubble on different x-rays. You can see. Now, not everybody will have these. You won't necessarily see the gastric bubble all the time. And remember, you will only see a gastric bubble in an upright position. This line right here is an air fluid level. This is air, this is fluid. This is air, this is fluid. Air, fluid. It's making a line where the fluid sits. So if somebody was lying down, all the fluid would be in the inside and you wouldn't be able to see it. That's why we do uprights for abdomens to look for air fluid levels. All right, so there's the 4 of the 6 digestive organs. Okay?